Hi there and welcome to my video today. I'm so happy to have you here. Today I'm starting on some mixed media paper. I'm going to make mixed media using some collage papers and paint. So I'm starting with this 140-pound paper, and I'm starting with some paint today rather than the papers, just using some gesso and some pink neon paint as well as Dela Rowney's acrylic paint. It's acrylic ink, and that's in color sepia. If you do like these videos, please give me a thumbs up. It just lets me know to create more like this. So I'm just going in with some color, not really thinking too much about it, just getting some color down on the paper and having some fun. Different strokes and different shapes. One of the things I love to do is create different colors with the paint. So I'm just kind of playing around with the pink and the white and that sepia tone, which is really a wonderful color. You can make some interesting hues with it, kind of muddy up some colors with it. And this is a favorite of mine, the circular sponge brush, just making some marks and getting rid of that white paper. So next I am using some acrylic medium. It's satin medium by Liquitex, and I'm putting down some collage papers. Now these papers I made on my jelly plate, and this one is on rice paper, and I really love that texture of rice paper. It's very light, not quite translucent, but you can see through a little bit and very easy to use. So whenever I put down any kind of acrylic papers, I always put a layer of this satin medium on top, just so it creates a little bit of a barrier, and then the paper won't buckle too much when I put paint or inks on top of it. So this is another paper that I made. I used deli paper to make that one. Now this is a stamp just of some musical notes, just to make some marks on the paper, I guess kind of muddy it up a little bit. And then this layer is a stencil I recently got that I wanted to try out. These first few marks and layers are just to kind of start putting some paint down, some ideas down, and creating different perspectives to kind of give different feelings of marks and different layers. I really love that neon pink. I use it a lot because it's one of my favorite colors, but I just feel like you can make so many different wonderful hues from it. And it really gives a pop of color. So I'm just using the stencil to create different interests along the paper. I'm going a little darker down here. Next, I'm using some turquoise. These are just basic paints from Artist Loft, nothing fancy. And I'm just kind of creating different shades of it using the acrylic, the white acrylic paint. And I just wanted to kind of add in a new color and create a little bit of a different feeling. So one of my favorite ways to kind of muddy up the page is to create some drips and a border. So this kind of gives a little interest on the side. Some drippies, some different shapes, and then kind of just let them drip. And I did let that dry for a little bit. And now I'm going back in with the white gesso. I just felt like that sepia mark was a little too dark for what I had created, so I was trying to mute it down a little. Just created a little bit of a white layer. And I'm adding in some more basic papers. This is one I made on my jelly plate. I'm just trying to play around with the placement. I did realize it was kind of right in the middle. I don't love putting things right in the middle of my papers because then I feel like it creates a little bit of a divide. So I just moved it over a little bit. But it's all about what your preferences are, what you feel like looks good, and following that instinct. So just going in with this is Stays On ink from the Stays On pad. And I'm just creating some marks with a simple stamp. It's always fun to use a bunch of different stamps and just see what resonates because you can always cover them up with some paint if you don't like them. But I like making a lot of different marks. This is a feather stencil, just kind of creating another layer on top of different colors. And I'm using a finger dabber, which is unbelievably useful. It's so easy to use with stencils. Just kind of playing with that stencil in different spots. So there's always editing going on as I get through different phases, go through the ugly phase, and you try to figure out what do I like, what don't I like, what can I remove, what can I keep, and trying to balance the work with different colors. Just some random little marks here and there, adding in that turquoise down below. And then I wanted to put in some focal pieces. These are my different butterflies that I found online. They're royalty-free images. You can print them out. Anyone can use them. And I printed them on deli paper, but I use my inkjet printer, so it does run if you get the top of it wet, the image wet with either medium or even water. So I have to be careful when I'm putting them on my different artwork pieces because I can only touch underneath with the medium. So they did run a little bit, but it's okay. Adds to the character. So there is my sentiment surrender. Just kind of playing around with it. That's my handwriting. I don't really use any printing processes for the writing. I'm just going back in. This is kind of where I'm adding in my final edits of what looks good, what do I need more of, less of, and just kind of playing around with the different colors and trying to figure out the balance of the piece. So this next part, I'm taking my Posca paint pen, just kind of adding in some marks. This is usually one of my last things I use, just adding in some different shapes or dots or outlining. And it just defines some of the background or the foreground a little more, creates more interest. And then I'm just adding in a little bit more color. I felt like it needed a little bit of a pop down there. Tie it in. And that is surrender. You could see all the little details, the papers and the marks and the stencils. This was so much fun to create, and I really appreciate you following along with me. I hope this was helpful to you in your art journey, and if you do like this video, please give it a thumbs up. There are plenty more of videos just like this on my channel. Hope you have a great day, and I hope to see you again soon.